Alia, and welcome back to another episode of Aligning Authenticity. So we have Ilani here today. And as usual, we're going to talk about all things mental health. The second episode of Mama Matters series.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've not watched that first episode, it was about mama's guilt.
Yeah, and now we're both here in person.
Yes, the beauty of technology nowadays. Let us know a little bit more about yourself.
So I was working in corporate for like a few years. I was doing advisory consulting, and then I also did talent management for a couple of years. And then once I had my son, I tried to do like the corporate life and the mom life, and that was a bit hard to juggle, to be honest. I did that for maybe a few months after my coming back from maternity leave. And then I decided I still want to work. I want to earn my own money, but I want something a bit more flexible. And so I started freelance writing. And then once like I was a bit comfortable doing that, I was like, okay, I don't think I want to stay in corporate anymore. I'm like, this is not the life for me. It's too stressful. Yeah. So slowly I had made a plan. I was like, okay, this is my exit plan, and then
Escape plan.
yeah, basically. And so I decided to take that leap of faith to, go do something on my own. At first I had clients, then I set up like my own blog and my own website. And now I'm running my own community, like I host events, and this year
And you have a strong community though, babe. There's super like cheerleaders there, hype girls for you, right?
they are amazing. I love empowering women. I feel like that energy is just so infectious when you just want to support each other and like empower each other. There's really strength in that. I'm so grateful for them, and they're also lovely. That's one of the things that I'm thankful for, because it opened doors for me to meet you as well.
Yeah.
So
We found each other online.
Yeah.
I always loved how, and I think it's the same even with your content. What you do a bit differently is where there's always some value that you're trying to add to it. Like, come listen to this expert, right? And
Yeah.
intimate. There are probably a lot of women who want to kind of move slowly away to something that's a bit more flexible. How long do you think that it took for you to actually get that side gig going?
My gosh, I'm trying to remember how long it took. But it was at least a few months. It was like what? Minimum 3 to 6 months, I feel, to kind of make that plan, because you also need time to save up. So when you have like that corporate job, macam you have that stable income, and then that will allow you to have some cushion in between.
Yeah.
When you actually quit your full-time job and then trying to get something like off the ground, like on your own business. That's usually what's most important, is that you have some savings to kind of like cushion you. And then also the support. When I talked to my husband, he was very supportive. We talked about, okay, what are some of like the lifestyle changes that we're going to have to sacrifice, Obviously, when you go from a dual income to a single income household, there's going to be changes you have to make. And that was really important to communicate. And alhamdulillah, I'm very thankful that, he's very supportive in that sense, in terms of like your finances, but also even after that period is over, I feel like it's a constant work in progress.
Yes.
You would know. Right? Like, how long have you been out of corporate now?
It's been, I think, about 6 to 7 months, right?
Yeah.
And I had been talking about kind of leaving corporate for like a while, like you're more of a planner, like,
Yeah.
it must all be like a certain
I am
or whatever.
better, yeah.
I'm more of, okay, I feel this way now. Okay, let's just go first and then we think about it later. So it was always at the back of my mind that I wanted to eventually have my own business, but it was just a matter of when. I think the traffic really got to. I mean, it was definitely the catalyst of a decision for me. Yeah.
Were you commuting?
My God, I think it was maybe about 1.5 hours. But
One way?
Yeah, for just one way. But going there to the office, it wasn't so bad. But coming back would take me about 1.5 hours. So I found it was quite a lot to take in, because, when you're juggling both corporate and mom life, when you get home, it's already about maybe 7. And then I only have 2 hours to spend with my daughter, and then she goes to sleep. You get so stressed,
Yeah.
When I decided to leave, I didn't have so much of a cushion per se, but what I did was try to spread the risk. So that was where I was looking out for collaborators, and how I found you too. I was just kind of like, okay, let's just see who's interested to do certain things that we are passionate about. And alhamdulillah, it's gone well, as in terms of me being able to do speaker sessions, workshops and whatnot.
Yeah, you've been doing amazing.
Yeah.
Inshallah. I'm so proud of you. Like,
Inshallah, it continues like that, Yeah. So, but it was a surprise, honestly, because I can't say that I was so structured in terms of the pipeline. It was just more of like, okay, I'll just put yourself out there and just whack and see what happens. Let's say it's in corporate, you would know what is expected of you, what are the steps maybe, and then when you're out there in the wilderness, meeting all kinds of characters and going through all kinds of situations, right? Like how has it been for you, in that sense? What is one of those typical days maybe look like in your life now?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? I think, okay, I mean, you mentioned about me being a planner. Yeah, I think that's something that I really struggled with. Like, even until today, once you go into the entrepreneurship or like running your own business, that path, everything is kind of on you. It's like, okay, well, there's no right or wrong answer.
If it moves or doesn't move, it's me.
It's you. Yeah, exactly. It's like everything is on you, which can feel like a lot of pressure, but there's that flexibility and that freedom. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think like what was kind of a challenge was, figuring out like, okay, what do I focus on first? What's the immediate urgency? What can I put off later? Because there's always gonna be like, that shiny object syndrome. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. But then if you're not focused, you're just gonna burn out, which I think was what happened to me last year. Like, I had set out to kind of like experiment and like try different things.
Yeah.
But now I know it's better to be like hyper focused rather than trying to do everything all at once, and then you're just gonna get tired.
The fluidity of it, as in when you're having your own business, that I can do whatever I want, when I want, how I want, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to start off a website, and then suddenly after a while, click to the website.
Yeah.
How did you then funnel down to the focus, right, as to what you really wanted to do?
Yeah. So yes, it's a good thing that you pointed out about the website, because that was something that I struggled with also. When I'm having the blog, when you have to write the articles, especially like if it's SEO focus, it does take some time with the research and then writing it out, and those articles are long, and you can't really monetize it until you have a lot of different articles. Like
unless you're earning from affiliate links and stuff.
Yeah,
but still you need to get the traffic in.
Exactly. I feel like affiliate works if there's high volume, but then like getting that volume tu macam mana kan? So usually what blogging is and affiliate marketing is, that usually takes a much longer time. And so, okay, what can we do to kind of like make it a bit more like active income for you, because you have your seminars and your workshops kind of for your clients. And so I'm like, okay, we can do events, we can do workshops. So that's where I'm more focused on, and that's in my plan lah. And it helps that I love Aisha, like, because she's such a good coach. And so I sought out her help as well to kind of like get me, okay, like stay focused, and make a plan for what's next. Mentorship and coaching and surrounding yourself with other female entrepreneurs, especially moms, they get it. They understand like the struggles. That's so important. And that's something that I actively seek out, because if they can do it successfully, like I can learn from them. Like fast track my journey. I'm still gonna make mistakes, but you kind of like cut down that time, I feel.
And you're at least a bit more aware of the kind of mistakes, issues that can come up with that. It really makes a difference when you're talking to people. Like, let's say if you talk to people in corporate, and you probably experience it too. Like, when you told them one day I'll have my own thing, they look at you like, huh? No stability? How? Right? How will you survive out there in the wilderness? But the conversation really shifts when you're talking to entrepreneurs. That was definitely a highlight for me, talking more to some entrepreneurs. And Aisha, honestly, so just for context, Aisha Priest, we both have went for some of her coaching sessions, and no, she did not pay us to mention this, but she is like the information hub for quite a lot of different things. She has very strong women community. to give women options if you want to earn some passive income. But anyway, back to this. When I did a coaching session with her was where we looked, at the plan to see that, okay, if I'm doing counseling sessions at the side on top of my corporate job, how long would it take for me to build to a point that I can actually leave corporate?
Yeah.
Okay. And funnily enough, for me, it was the opposite effect. Because after she did it, and she told me, Alia, I think it would take this amount of time. I look at it, I'm like, huh? That long? It's like repocketing for me. It actually encouraged me to get a bit more creative and resourceful, right?
Yeah.
To really be more focused on it. Started reaching out. Aside from some of us in the online community, it was also with other training providers so that I could just kind of get started slowly.
Yeah.
It's like looking at it in different layers because there's some things which make a longer time to achieve, right?
Yeah.
But there will be some of those maybe like quick wins or a bit more faster or more consistent in that sense. From what you have created, one of the other spin-offs has been your mom community.
Yeah, which is something that I didn't even plan. It just kind of like happened organically. But I did notice, like, even when it was a personal, private account, my friends were just really supportive. And so I felt comfortable being a bit more vulnerable, sharing my struggles, or like asking them for ideas and suggestions. When I started making my profile public, there were more supportive women who joined. Like, yeah, which is, I think, amazing because, like, I know people complain about social media, and I feel like, at one point, I stayed away from it. But it's a neutral tool that can either be helpful or harmful. And for me, there is goodness in it. It's just a matter of how you use it, right? So you just need to utilize it properly. And so, yeah, I'm very thankful for the amazing women around me. Yeah.
Excellent point. Because a lot of people, I feel like, okay, they first start sharing a little bit about their lives, and then later on it becomes like everything lah. During the day is shared there, whether it's like what they're eating in the morning or also you're very conscious about it. I would say there's like that balance,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's coming from a place of where you always want to provide that useful content, or sometimes you're like, go get some exercise. Go take a walk to get your vitamin D. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Because you know what? That's a reminder for myself.
I mean, it's great because a lot of people, once they kind of reach a certain level, or let's say you're chasing the algorithm or so, then you feel like you constantly need to post. Right. Aside from the SEO that you mentioned, I think that's also one other thing, right? They say that you have to keep posting and posting and posting. And I find that so challenging, honestly, like to keep it up. Right?
I understand. Yeah, because that's just how the system is set up. It's like if you don't keep on posting, that it's hard to reach new people, or it's hard to engage with your current community. But I feel like we're all like living a human life and experiences, and so we're not gonna be on social media all the time. And so I try not to put pressure on myself to do that. And I think one of the signs of me like burning out is when I feel like, oh my god, I have to post something. Oh my god, like I haven't posted in so sorry, or like a feed in so long. But yeah, I've been kind of quiet the past few months just because I've been dealing with my mental health issues, and I just don't feel like showing up as much. And I feel like that's fine. Even my community pun, I know some people are taking breaks.
Yeah.
Social media, like I think that's something that for like online business owners, like they have, and people who are on social media, like pushing out content. I think that's something that we have to be careful about.
Yeah.
Just for our own mental health sake.
For sure, right?
Yeah.
There's a very wide variety how people handle their social media habits. Naturally, I would say it's still kind of regulated, and then once in a while you're like, okay, I withdraw.
Yeah.
But you also have some who maybe they post everything, and then suddenly silence.
Yeah.
A week. There's also some of them who's like, I'm going on a digital detox for 24 hours. I'm like, okay, you didn't have to announce it to the world. Social media is how we can get that brand awareness out there. But when did you maybe experience the burnout for the first time as an entrepreneur?
It definitely wasn't the first time, but the most recent one, which was last year, Q1, Q2, and Q3, I had really kind of like pushed myself out of my comfort zone. And that's when I started like hosting the events. And I am an introverted person, which means I gain energy from being by myself. And so having to be around people, that kind of like took a lot from me. And so I think by Q4, I was like, oh my gosh, I need a break. I really had to like force myself to show up, you know. And then I think during my last event too, it was a lot of preparation. It was the biggest one that I organized, because the previous ones were like more intimate, like less people, they were more casual. And so yeah, I think one of the signs that I was starting to feel burned out was when I felt like it was so much energy for me, which I feel like it shouldn't feel that way, you know, because I love doing it. Like, I love meeting all the moms and all the women. But when it started to feel like, oh my gosh, that's when I was like, okay, there's something wrong here.
You had your own thought with it. Right?
Yeah. And then, so like full disclosure, like I have been like in and out of like depression for the past like 7 years. And so, and I think it became worse after postpartum. I'm always kind of like trying to be aware of like how I feel. When I start to withdraw too, it started from being exhausted and burned out. And then I think slowly macam, oh, I think I'm falling back in.
It's really good that you're actually able to identify some of the signs, you know, because I think that for a lot of people out there, they could be going through all the stresses or even have some of the symptoms of depression or even anxiety, and they think nothing is wrong. It's kepochi, right? but would you say that for you, was it the postpartum per se that, you know, blew everything up, or was it even before that you kind of started having this journey?
It started when I was so stressed out working in corporate. I was like working maybe 60 hours a week, and then I was like away from my family. I was a very high stress job, a lot of traveling also. Then I think that was when the first time that I was like, oh, like I think I'm depressed. But I didn't know it at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think, especially for people who maybe experience something so stressful, like very high anxiety, they don't know that. But then after I came out of it, very much oh, this is what it's like, you know. So when it happened again, when I was pregnant, and then after postpartum, I was like, okay, this something seriously wrong. Seriously wrong. But yeah, I would say postpartum was the worst lah.
Yeah.
Because I had quite a traumatic birth experience.
Okay.
Traumatic for me. It was a C-section emergency. Something that I like didn't really prepare for. So I think it's also like goes back to my personality, because I'm very much like a person who needs time to process things, and especially big changes, big life events. Like, it just takes me some.
Dah lah your planner.
Yeah,
You know. Emergency.
Right. Yeah. And you know, it's so funny because my husband, he's just so like the opposite of me. Like, he's very much go with the flow, really fun. And so I think it took some time for him to understand like how my brain works, and like why it's not that I'm just like it's not that I don't want to be flexible. I want to, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a bit
be flexible within the structure.
Yeah, exactly. Like
A little bit of enough.
last year, we had gone on like a family vacation tau. But so we only planned to stay there for 2 nights. But so randomly, I'm like, kita stay like a third night. Like just, you know, it was a really nice place, island called Pulau Kapas. But so he was so shocked. He was like, huh? You had changed the plan?
Probably like, what did the resort with you?
He was so shocked. And yeah, I mean, those things which I'm learning. I think, you know, you kind of rub off like on it from each other, can like when you get married, I try to be a bit more flexible because my husband is. So yeah, but yeah, then
I remember he's always been that source of support and people.
Yeah.
So what would you say were maybe the signs at that time that, you know, when you were going through it for that first time, that you look back and you're like, oh, that was not normal.
Yeah. I think one of it was the ability to handle stress. Now I know that like not everyone will be able to handle the same level of stress the same way.
Okay.
And that's because everyone has their cortisol level.
Mm.
For me, when I went to see my doctor, she's a functional medicine doctor, and we did like my blood test and hormone test, and we found out that my cortisol level is very low. When your cortisol level is very low, it affects how you handle stress. For example, macam throughout the day, macam if your car breaks down, or like if your baby like pees on you, like poops on you, and then you have to change your baju, and like I don't know, macam all the different things happening, macam stack that stress, macam it could really push someone if they have like a low tolerance for stress.
Right.
So versus someone who is like, regulated, healthy, and, they can handle whatever like life throws at them. So I think macam for me, that's one of the signs, macam when I am mentally well versus when I'm not well. It's like the tiniest things will just like, make me cry.
Okay, so crying is how it
Yeah, I was just crying, yeah. And then also like not having the motivation. I want to do it, but I just feel like I don't have any energy. Like I physically can't bring myself to do it. And I know that like for a lot of people who experience depression, even getting out of the bed is a chore, having to shower, things like that. So yeah, when those kind of things happen, macam, I feel like, okay, there's something wrong. But macam, obviously like as a mom, macam, you can't spend all day in bed. Like I have a son to take care of.
Yeah.
But it's more like, okay, I'm just kind of going through the motions. I'm not really like fully present, or it's just something that I just do because I have to do it lah.
Would you say that there was a big difference, or maybe a significant difference between when you went through the first depression kind of episode compared to postpartum depression?
Oh yeah,
Different flavor.
Yeah, very different, because I think postpartum was the worst lah. It really was. Oh my gosh. But you're trying to recover. I had a C-section, so I couldn't really walk.
Yeah.
That loss of autonomy and independence in a way as you're recovering and learning how to walk again, and then not getting enough sleep. I think that was like a big factor, because my therapist kept on telling me like, get as much sleep as you can, because that really does affect like your mental well-being. And then having to care for my baby at that time, macam I was just like looking at him like I don't know you, man. Like, we need to get to know each other, you know?
We talked about that last time. It's like, I know stranger, okay. Where is that instinctive maternal side people talk about, right? Yeah. It's different.
It's so funny how like, for some women it doesn't come naturally. Like, that's something that you kind of have to learn, and, it happens over time.
I feel like it's there, but it's just because you go through such a shock during the birth experience. I also had an emergency C-section before you go through all of that, right? The whole getting pregnant, going to the gynecologist, whatnot. We as girls were told to take care of your body, and then suddenly it's like everyone's poking you from all angles, like the nurses lah, everyone's talking about your body like just like that. Oh, dilated, not dilated. And it happens so fast. Oh my gosh, like I don't know how your experience was, but for mine, it was where they strap you down and you're conscious. So I looked like, it was like a T-shape like that. And I'm wheeled into this operating theater. At that first operating theater that they rolled me into, there was like the reflection, babe.
Yeah, see.
I can see. So I was there like praying all the prayers that I knew, right? So the surah and everything that I knew, like, no, please not like this, right? Like, I don't want to see myself kena like that. And then the specialist was like, wrong OT, and then they wheeled me to another one.
God.
But it was very traumatic. It was shock at that point, because when it kind of subsided and after all of that healing, I felt like I'm more like myself. Yes, naturally there's love for because now not so stranger anymore. But that part is like a shock. Big shock. I found that women in Asian communities actually have lower rates of postpartum depression compared to Western communities because of our pantang, or the confinement. Because for them, the next week they already have to start doing things around the house, but we tend to have a little bit of that downtime, people taking care of us. But that can also be a double-edged sword in some cases, because you'll have some of this maybe well-meaning relatives telling you like, you tak pakai this ke? Oh, you you're not drinking this.
You have
not
to do
this,
this, to do that.
to do that. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed already. Baby not sleeping, and I have to remember all these 1,001 things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what helped you with that? Like, one was therapy. What else came up, to help you through that season?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember now. Yes, I did go to therapy during my confinement. I just did it online because I was like, I really need some help. I need to talk to someone. But yeah, I don't know. I think what made it quite hard for me was like I didn't really know what to do. So it just kind of like, yeah, I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. So it was more like resting.
Yeah, it was more like just resting. I just took it at my own time. And then, yes, I did have people telling me you need to do XYZ. For example, pumping. You need to pump. Like, if you're not waking up with the baby, you need to pump, nanti kan sakit and whatnot. I hated pumping so much. So I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. But did you also experience some of them that feel like, oh, if you don't breastfeed your child, it's like you're a bad mom? I know there's a lot of that going out there, right? But was that something that you felt like, oh, if I don't breastfeed, then, it's like everything's gone. I'm a bad mother.
That is a lot
now.
of pressure. I put that pressure on myself. No one else did. And then I had my sister-in-law. She was the one who told me like, listen, like don't stress yourself about breastfeeding. Just give him a formula. Like if you can't, like if you're too tired. Because in the beginning, like when you're breastfeeding, people don't tell you this, but it's like actually really hard, especially in the beginning.
Then they have lactation specialists. Yes, the role exists for a reason, kan?
Yeah. And even when you have like a lactation like consultant to help you, baby has to practice, and then sometimes they have like tie and like your nipple bleeding or like it's a process. And so yeah, I appreciate hearing that from my sister-in-law. She's like, just don't put that pressure. So we mix feed him from day one. But then after some time, I did feel like, I want to give him full breast milk if possible. I tried to do that, tapi it was so hard lah. Macam, yeah, I was like, because like my baby would like feed for like an hour at a time, and then like 30 minutes later dia nak susu lagi. Macam no. Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, it was like really hard. And then but another thing that kind of like helped me a lot, that made me feel navigate through the postpartum period, was my friend. She told me that it's completely normal if you feel blues, if you feel low, feel sad. If you just cry at the silliest thing, just out of nowhere, when that happens, just know that you're not crazy.
Yeah, this is the hormones readjusting.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that helped lah. Macam knowing that like, okay, these moms have been through it. They're fine now. And they're just like giving me a heads up. And I know that they didn't want to scare me or anything, but I feel like that was really helpful to hear,
Definitely. Yeah. I think that is when women are actually very real with each other. I'm sure there are still people or women out there who have had very positive pregnancy experiences and giving birth experiences, but I think it's also healthy for us to normalize that may not be the same for everyone.
Yeah.
Before it was more of like whenever that came up, we would think that, because I'm not a good mother lah, that's why I can feel this way, right? Now, conversations are also a bit healthier in that space. Because even for me, like when heavily pregnant that time, like the 3rd trimester, I felt like, oh my gosh, it took a lot out of your body. When you're walking, it's like people take maybe 5 minutes to get to a certain spot, and for you it's taking 10, 15, and you're like out of breath. I remember waddling,
Even talking was like, it made me like out of breath.
Yeah. And I felt so guilty for having these thoughts. It was when I met another mom, friend from uni, and she was also pregnant. And she was like, babe, I can't wait.
So to get my baby out of me.
To come out. Like, I think he's ready already to just come out now, And I said, oh my gosh, that's so refreshing. It made me feel so much better. Like, wow, finally. Someone's being real about this, Yeah.
That last stretch. That last
stretch. It's crazy. And then, like what I mentioned, it's like things you didn't even know would happen to your body would happen. I was wearing slippers mostly for my 3rd trimester, and like you get some of these lines, but it's different for some other women. And so being able to talk about it, I think really helps, So it's great that you had your sister-in-law who provided that support, right? And tell you like, it's fine. Yeah.
Definitely. Passing on the wisdom.
When you're already feeling so stressed, is more tension. And a lot of people might say that, oh, it's coming from a good place, well-meaning or so. But I'm like,
Don't say anything.
but right now, like, as in when you're going through some of the real, like, emotional times, it may not be particularly helpful. We can get to that later. For the first part, is about managing the emotions and really digesting the process of what you've been through, the whole birth experience. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
How long did you think it took after that postpartum depression to start feeling like, Ilani is back?
Oh my God.
Was it months, years,
Yeah,
It's different for people, right?
it took a very long time. I think people expect it to go away in a few weeks, which,
I don't know. Who are these people? Who are they?
for me, I would say maybe about a year and 9 months, a year and a half. But I think around that, baru macam I felt like, oh, this is okay. Like, I'm starting to feel good. And then slowly, I think after 2 years, I felt like more clear-headed, like more focused. I had like a bit more energy. I was able to have some more time to go for my walks and start like exercising again.
By that time, you were already in your own business, or was that later on?
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think it was around that time lah, macam more than a year. And I felt kind of like, a bit embarrassed to kind of admit that like it took me that long to feel like more like myself again. But then when I did share about it, like apparently like other women have also gone through the same thing. Like it took them a very long time to feel kind of like normal again. From a scientific point of view, I learned from Dr. Ilani that a woman's bodies, especially if they're breastfeeding, among their hormones, and their body takes 2 years to kind of like rebalance again. And I'm like, wow, 2 years, like, okay, no wonder.
I'm right on time, actually.
Yeah. Every baby is different, and then if every mom has their own journey. Whenever I hear stories, macam, I'm like, okay, it's hopeful and it gives me inspiration. Just knowing that whatever people go through, it's their own unique journey. Like I have friends who are just thriving. Macam they have pretty easygoing babies, and then they just love being moms, and they enjoy it from like when they really enjoy the baby phase and the toddler phase. So yeah, it's different for different people. For me, like even though I struggle, but then I struggle especially in the baby phase. Like now I'm enjoying the toddler phase.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different. Yeah.
The son is a bit bigger, right, out of the baby phase, and then having the business. Like, what does a normal day look like for you?
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, we get to send Adam to play school.
Let's decompress, But we love our kids, okay?
Yeah, I love him so much, but I'm so glad that he gets to go to school. Yeah, so when he goes to school is when I get to go for my walks and spend focus time. I feel like the time just goes by really fast. Like you send them in the morning, and then you do your work, and then it's lunchtime, a prayer time, and then a little bit more work, then you have to go pick them up. It has kind of forced me to be really mindful of my time and trying to make the best out of it. And I feel like moms are the best at time management. Really being like productive and getting things done because they know that their free time is so precious. Yeah.
Free time is precious, and sometimes you just have ad hoc stuff that happens, I feel. Like even with my daughters, where suddenly she has a certain event, or she has some plans with her friends, and I'm there like, oh, there goes
what you had planned.
As in like, what I had planned, right? Yeah. I thought, okay, this time to this time, deep focus work and this and that. Oh, I have to rejig now for it, What comes is managing your emotions, because you can't get so frustrated each time that there's a change. It's just more of like, okay, taking that step back, looking at it and how else can we actually work with this. It definitely help.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I feel like this is something that I'm still working on, being flexible with how things might change. At the start of this year, so my son got sick. He's been on and off being sick lah. So if he's sick, then my husband is at the office, so I'm taking care of my son full time, and he can't go to school. So it just completely derails my plans lah. Which okay, I was planning to like do XYZ tasks like this week, and then it's out of the window. I literally can't do anything because he needs my care and my attention.
Yeah, they go into koala mode at that point now and tell them like, okay, look, just give me 15 minutes. No, 15 minutes together. I'm still here with you, Mama. Can. Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, for me, I cannot multitask tau.
Yeah.
So, for example, even if he's at home and just like watching TV and I want to like do my work, I cannot do that because I feel like I can't really focus. I cannot turn my brain on and off so easily because then he'll come running and then he'll like want something. He's like, play with me. So yeah, it's very hard for me to multitask in that sense.
So, do you know that multitasking is actually a myth? Really, it is a myth because there's only so much that the human brain can actually juggle at the same time, because exactly as what you mentioned, there will either be lesser quality or it's just very surface level.
Yeah.
So, because essentially what we're doing in that point when we think we are multitasking is task switching. Yeah. So remember back then when there was like Astro at the dial-up modem, it's like there's that lag time, changing channels.
Yes.
You're switching between tabs. It's the same with our mind. Like, so every time that we're doing it, ironically, it then makes our brains more tired rather than if you focus on one thing and then you move on to the next thing. It's like you chunk the time instead.
Yeah.
My daughter, she goes for these practices. And I thought like, this is okay, while she practice all that, I will be here doing my work, I find that it's never to the same level of quality or so. So I decided to not give myself as much guilt about it. Just put it aside and be like, then I just enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah.
Be present here, then later on spend time. But I guess the trade-off with that is where we have to find then that extra time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or like things get pushed, which it doesn't go according to the timeline that you want.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're all always in the process of learning. But what do you find has worked best for you so far right now in adjusting slowly or replanning what has been thrown out the window?
I had heard this saying many years ago when I was listening to a podcast. It was from this business coach called Faith Mariah, and she was saying how like in life, like we're juggling different balls, and how some balls are made of rubber and some balls are made of glass. And so like with the glass, you can't let them fall because if it falls, it's gonna break. But then for the rubber balls, if you let them go or set them down, like it's just gonna bounce back later on. That's something that stuck with me, and that really means that I have to like prioritize and make a bare minimum plan.
Bare minimum, but it's
bare minimum.
Can be minded.
Yeah.
So the standard operating procedure chart, you make a mind map, okay?
Not everything has the same urgency or same priority. So you have to decide lah, like what can you hold on to for now that's like really essential, and then what are some other things you can like pick up like later on, right? So for me, that was something that I really had to like remind myself, especially when my son got sick. And then I just felt frustrated because I'm like, oh my god, I planned for this week, and I can't do this, and I'm like so frustrated.
Yeah.
But
I think the emotion is okay in that moment, right? We feel frustrated, but later on when the emotion ebbs away, like as if they picked the day to get sick. It's not really the case, kan?
No, it's not their fault. And it happens. Like life just really happens. So last year, I just wrote down in my journal, planning for this year, my intentions. I just wrote down and I said, life is going to happen. It's the qadar of Allah. So you just go with the flow, and you're going to get sick. Adam is going to get sick. Our race is going to get sick. So when that happens, it's okay. Like you just go with the flow. I have to like mentally tell myself that.
Journaling helps.
Yeah.
We will replan another day.
Journaling is like, a simple but can be a powerful tool, because I notice that when I don't journal, it becomes harder to kind of like manage my emotions. But when I do journal, it helps more. I haven't really been consistent with it now as I was before this. So that's something that I'm going to try to do more lot. Yeah.
I have the same intention. I bought quite a few of the washi tapes.
Oh, oh wow, you use washi tape.
I said this year. So I just want to try. And I got that tiny kind of like photo printer to yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
there's quite a few different journaling techniques you can use. One is brain dump, especially if you're very anxious. You just kind of like vomit everything out on
My
that piece of
favorite.
paper, right?
That's my
You just
favorite.
set a timer for like 2-3 minutes and
Yeah.
everything just comes out. And that's actually quite helpful. So journaling, it sounds like also the social support and therapy. What has helped you be very clear when it comes to some of these boundaries or priorities? Because some people get scared how other people might react to it. So what has helped with that?
Oh, that's interesting. In terms of managing boundaries with other people, yeah, I try to be just as honest as I can. For us, we had actually planned this like earlier, what is in December. That was the original plan.
Yeah, yes.
And like when we had that check-in, I was just like, I don't think I can do it because I just had a lot on my plate at that time. And then I just asked if we could do this in January instead. And then you were open to it. Being kind of honest and knowing your limits. If I had pushed through, maybe it might have not been the best conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's okay to change your mind, or like to be clear about what you can and what you can't do. Most people are understanding. This is why I love working or collaborating with like other moms and other women, because you guys are very understanding. And if I tell you like, oh, you know, my kid is sick or I have other things going on, yeah, it's helpful to be honest.
Moms also sometimes they already plan it in advance. Like Anissa for her recent masterclass, with some of her events, people are like, some may not be able to attend because maybe their kids get sick. So I have planned accordingly. Oh, good with you, you know?
Yeah,
she makes a plan for if the plan doesn't
Pending, baby.
so,
Yeah, especially events. Yeah, I remember she mentioned that. Oh, and then speaking about planning, another thing that I recently learned is that when you make a plan, you are the least informed version of yourself.
Oh, wow. Tell me more.
I was like, oh, interesting. And what that means is like, okay, when I made the plan for January, I didn't know that my son was going to be sick. I didn't know that I was going to feel depressed. I didn't know that all these things was going to come up. And so now that I have the information, I'm more informed now about the circumstances that I'm in. Is it possible to change the plan? And then when I thought about it that way, I was like, oh, okay. I think that's like a good perspective, you know? Which sometimes we feel bad about changing things, but yeah, like it's okay.
Yeah.
To do that.
It's really about giving yourself grace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you are the least informed. You can plan, but you know, it comes different.
Yeah.
You know, as a takeaway, what's some advice that you give maybe to other moms who might also have the issue, right? Of like, okay, if things don't really go according to plan, where can they start? The baby steps.
Yeah. I think what I would share is that having like a list of things that you know will bring you joy or help you get back on track. So for me, when I start feeling low and I don't want to exercise, I don't want to go for my walk, sometimes you just kind of have to like push through and just keep doing the things that you know are good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Macam, yeah, going to therapy is hard. I don't want to do it, but I guess I have to. It's gonna be good for me, you know? Or like,
It's gonna be so uncomfortable sometimes. It takes a lot of courage, one. And second is for you to actually go and bear it out. When I see my clients come and how they react, or and I know how scared they were like, probably, and they tell me I was anxious before this.
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Small things, like for me, yeah, like going for my walk and making sure I get enough sunshine.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. I really feel a difference. Yeah, it improves my mood lah. Surprisingly, I love to recharge by reading. And so, like murder mysteries or like comedy, I think that, those are the things that I feel like helps me, to kind of enjoy life a bit more, when it feels kind of like overwhelming. Yeah, having that basic list of things and try to do them as much as you can to like help you feel better, But yeah.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. So for everyone is knowing that Ilani, who's always with the plan, if there's no plan, there's a list. There's the list. Right? But list of joyful things.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the golden rules or generally good practice that I would say to people, because they will ask sometimes like, well, how do I know when I'm having something that's a bit more like I should take action on? Let's say if it was stress or depression or whatnot. So I would normally share that if you're having some real changes in terms of like maybe things that you used to really enjoy and you just completely don't enjoy them, or it's your eating or sleeping that's already starting to affect the daily functioning, then it's okay at that time to actually reach out for help.
Yeah.
Talking about it with someone can actually be very helpful.
It's true.
So that's all we have for today's episode. Until the next one, our next episode of Mama Matters series. Thanks so much, Dani.
Thanks for having me.